I moved a couple of machines here, all the steam ones, because they are actually still going to see use, even after I make the LV machines. Because I can time accelerate these as much as I want. Electric machines are not quite so happy to be accelerated, but I think I know how to do it. I think you can do it once, because electric machines accept up to 2 amps of power. So if you time accelerate it once, it uses twice as much power from its internal buffer, and so it's able to request 2 amps, so it's going to work. But if you accelerate them even more, it's not going to work. Anyway, these are still going to see use. Today, I want to get into LV and see how far I can make it. I wonder if I can finish the entirety of LV in one episode. I kind of doubt it, but it's not impossible. Here's a couple of friendly checkbox quests to get some cables, because why not? And also a battery. The first thing I need to make is, of course, a basic steam turbine to convert the steam into electricity. I am definitely going to make a couple, like it recommends. Probably 4 or maybe 8, but I'm going to start with just 1. And then the very first machine I'm going to make after that is the wire mill. Wire mill gives you the best savings of material of all of the machines, because you go from 1 ingot to 2 wires. Previously, you would have to go from 1 plate to 1 wire, and of course 1 plate is not 1 ingot until you have the bending machine. And even if you do make the bending machine, it's not as much of a save as the wire mill. So I'm going to make the wire mill first, and then the bending machine, and then everything else. The goal of LV is obviously to get to MV, which I do by making an electric blast furnace. This also needs LV energy hatches, which in this pack look quite easy to make actually. Surprisingly easy to make. This is super easy to make. What the? Anyway, coils are usually the most expensive part, but this is just bronze and copper nickel, and some tin alloy, which is tin and iron, so it's really not that bad. I also do want to finish these bulk crafting quests, just because, you know, why not? But I would like to make the wire mill and the bender first, before I do that, because that's going to save on so much material. So let's get started. The steam turbine needs some tin rotors, some motors, a circuit. The basic wire mill needs more motors, more circuits, and just more LV stuff. Nothing, like, this is all no big deal. I will be right back. The first LV motor. And the first steam turbine. Now I'm gonna make my line of steam machines over here, so I need to get some more pumps, or pipes I mean, maybe also some pumps. Let's see, let's start with this. Gonna quickly craft up the wire mill as well. A small amount of microcrafting later. Wire mill. This is big. This is big. Now I do have a battery from a quest reward, so I may as well use it. Interestingly, there's an overclock button, which sets a limit to how much overclocking the machine can do. For LV, it doesn't really matter, because there's either LV or no limit. It's a little pointless, but I think in the higher tier machines, this might be useful if... I don't know, is it ever going to be useful? Just stop being poor on power. I don't think I'm ever going to use this. But check this out. There is an LV superconductor, mana-infused metal. This is basically steel. And now that I have the wire mill, I can get a pretty decent conversion rate from ingots to wire. Now, I think... tough choice between making the bender now or doing the big batch craft. I think I'm going to do the big batch craft. Okay, I'm going to make 16 circuits, and I'm going to make 40 motors, and I'm actually going to make 8 of all the other things. Time for a bunch of crafting. Okay, I've changed my mind a little bit because I don't have any sulfur. So I can't make the rubber sheets needed for the conveyor modules. So I've made my 40 motors, I've made my 16 circuits, and that's enough for right now. I just want to walk around and talk about the things that I've discovered I can time in a bottle. Number 1, the infernal furnace. I need to time in a bottle this block behind the chest because that's the controller. And you might have noticed while I was crafting, but it spits out steel nuggets so fast. Next, I've discovered that I can time in a bottle the large bronze boiler because it just, it just burns fuel faster and it burns water faster, and that's it. It's just totally safe to time in a bottle. I've also discovered that I can time in a bottle covers. So if I time in a bottle this block, it actually accelerates the cover. This is a ULV pump, which normally pulls at 320 liters per tick, but I can time in a bottle it and it gets way faster. This is like 10,000 liters per tick or more. It's crazy. I've noticed that I can time in a bottle the basic wire mill. I was talking earlier about how I can only time in a bottle it once, but that's not exactly true. It depends on the recipe. So for wires, for example, that is a 7 EU per tick recipe. So if I accelerate it once, it's then 14 EU per tick. If I do it again, it's 28 EU per tick. And if I do it again, only then does it go over 1 amp, and only then does the buffer start to drain. Now, the energy draw of a machine is based on the base recipe amount. So because it's less than half an amp of LV, 16 EU per tick would be the normal threshold. But because it's less than that, the most this machine can draw is 1 amp. So if I'm consuming EU faster than 1 amp, it's eventually going to power fail once the buffer is empty. So at most, I can accelerate this twice to 28 EU per tick, and that is totally stable, which is weird and cool and nice because that speeds things up a lot. Next up, I'm going to make a couple of these machines. I think I need to go to the nether first because I need rubber. I do know that there is a way to get rubber though, without sulfur. 2 ways actually. 1, I can get rubber pulp for macerating cables. And remember that some of these cables can be made with black carpet, so I can convert carpet into rubber, which is super weird, but it works. And I think besides that, it just costs the string, which is lost entirely. The carpet is obviously lost entirely, but I get a rubber out of it. And the small pile that you get back, I believe, is exactly the same amount, but this is 2 outputs. Steam Macerator has 1 output slot, so that's kind of not an option. The other way to get rubber back is by using... Ooh, where is it? Here it is, a packager. A packager can convert cables into wire and rubber sheets. And I think this is how I'm going to do this. I'm going to make wires out of carpet, and then I'm going to get rubber sheets out of it. Which, of course, means I need to make a basic packager, which, unfortunately, does need rubber. So one way I could do this is I could just eat the cost of losing some tin or whatever in the macerator, and then I can use the rubber pulp. And I think that's what I'm going to do. But the other, and I suppose intended method, is to get my hands on some sulfur. And I think sulfur only spawns in the nether. Correct. I am correct. The nether is its own trophy, even. Well, it's not a trophy, but it's its own progression goal. Because I need to make 10 nether portal blocks. But I think at this point, that's not too bad. It needs some liquid death, which is a bit more Thaumcraft progression. Not too much. And I think it's actually kind of easy to make. I don't remember. I also need an angel block, which needs some astral progression. And quartzite plates, which... Ooh. How do I get quartzite plates? Oh, really simple. From the ore. The most obvious answer. That seems like something I don't feel like doing right now, because magic. I'm going to make my packager, and I'm also going to make a couple other machines if I can afford it. The bender, for one. Also the basic chemical reactor, and the basic assembling machine. There are some more machines listed here, but actually they don't need to be LV, and all of them I have the Steam variant of, so I can just go spam some time in a bottle, and it's going to be faster than this even. So I'm not really going to make these. I'll probably just make these when I really, really need it. Like if a recipe needs a HV recipe or something, then I'll finally make the HV forge hammer. But I don't think I really need to before then. Hi, Creeper. You're not that sneaky. Okay, he's a little sneaky. Not that sneaky, though. I do, of course, also need the assembler to get started on the coils. Well, that's a lot to do. Time to make some more LV machines. Well, that was quick. I'm gonna craft some copper nickel coils and an EBF. Why not? Here comes the first Invar, which I need. Also, I didn't notice, but I need graphite plates, but luckily I have graphite because it spawns in the diamond veins. This is really going to be done like in no time at all. Guys, why didn't my EBF form? Oh, I know what it is. I'm missing the energy hatches. Did it form? Maybe it's the input and output buses. Nope. Maybe it's all the heat-proof Invar machine casings. I don't think it needs a maintenance hatch. Maybe it's the top layer and the muffler hatch, which is going to point inwards because that's funny. Still hasn't formed. Oh, no, I got it. It was the coils. It was definitely the coils. Yup, I was right. I was missing the coils. That's so silly. Well, that was pretty quick, to be honest. This is essentially the entirety of LV. There's a bit more I can do, and I probably will. But if I wanted, right now, I could enter MV. I just need to figure out a source for aluminium dust. Let's take a look, actually. Well, it's not from mining. Aluminium ore is definitely not the play because it doesn't spawn in the overworld, or the end, or the nether. So that's not it. Electrolysis at face value gives me some, but this is an MV recipe. They're all MV recipes. Oh, here's an LV one. Huh. I guess I just found out that these are not sorted by energy cost. So, okay, so I need to look a bit more closely. Wow. Anyway, this seems to be my main source for aluminium, sapphire dust, and I can definitely get sapphire dust. That should be no problem. So that is how it's done. It of course means I need an electrolyzer, which I haven't made yet. And I will, but there's some other stuff I want to do today. I don't want to just progress into MV just yet, because steam power is already starting to be a problem, mostly because the tree beacons suck so bad, or rather, mineral trees suck so bad. I can't place any more of them, which is very annoying. But yeah, I basically need to buffer a giant amount of steam and then use it for crafting and then make more steam. That's kind of how this has to go. And I don't want to do it like that, so might be time for oil. I don't know, I'm a little indecisive about whether or not to switch to oil right now. Definitely not enough time this episode, but soon in the future. Besides that, there are some things I can do here in the metallurgy tab. I can first of all start quadrupling my ore by doing some starlight transmutation or chem bathing in liquid starlight. And I would rather do this because Greg Tech over magic. Liquid starlight would be pretty easy to get if I could get my hands on the astral enriched eggs, or the astral chicken, which I should be able to. It needs a little bit of astral progression, but really not much. The main problem is getting infinity dust, but that's also not really that difficult. Besides that, I also need to make an arc furnace, because that'll make steel much easier. It's just oxygen plus iron equals steel. It's very, very simple. And then in the chemicals tab, there's quite a bit I can do in LV, actually. It doesn't really need to be done in LV, as far as I can tell, because I can enter MV right now, but there's quite a lot of useful stuff. There's steam cracking, there's getting salt, somehow, and lithium and elemental dusts. There's getting rubber, of course, and sulfur. There's getting chlorine, there's getting chloroform, methane, deuterium, hydrofluoric acid. This is all apparently LV, all the way up to TNT. And diesel. So there is quite a bit to do in LV still, but technically I'm done with LV. I could do all of those things in MV, and maybe I should? I don't know. I guess we'll find out next time.